Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Roundball Daily Quick Hitter. What's up with all the injuries? Obviously, Tyrese Haliburton getting hurt in Game 7 completely ruined the game, completely ruined the Pacers' chances of winning. I thought on the road against Oklahoma City, they're not going to win that game once he goes down. And just a really tough, excuse me, with that burp right there, but just a really tough, just had some pizza. Might need a Tums. But situation is really tough for Indiana. And next season, it's not going to be great either. Because he's not going to be back. And we've seen this with Jason Tatum. We've seen this with a lot of stars in the playoffs recently over the last few years. People just keep getting hurt. And I think this is why a lot of fans don't really connect the dots. This is exactly why teams have been doing load management. Now they have a rule that the NBA put in place where you have to play 65 games. Haliburton actually got injured a couple of years ago and wasn't really the same a couple of years ago before he ended up coming back from that injury and started to play better last year before they made the conference finals last year against the Celtics. But he was kind of hurt by that 65-game rule as well. And I think that they put that rule in to stop load management. But we're seeing in these playoffs, we saw a few years back, Kawhi Leonard get hurt. We've seen Paul George get hurt. Before they were constantly getting hurt. This happened in the playoffs. The Clippers were done when Kawhi went out a few years back in the COVID bubble. Those playoffs, Donovan Mitchell went out for the Jazz. The Jazz had a fantastic season that year. Were tops in the league. So we've seen a lot of injuries in recent years. And I think something has to be done. I think the season needs to be shortened. I know that that's something that they definitely don't want to do, and there's a lot of money involved, and I understand why and understand that, but this just can't go on with players that are playing all season long, playing in the off season, playing in different tournaments. Tyrese Haliburton played in the Olympics, although he didn't play a lot this past Olympics, but this just keeps happening, and I think something needs to be done in terms of lightening the load a little bit for these players. I think a perfect mark for us, even as fans. I think as fans, not a lot of people watch the NBA regular season day in and day out. I am one of those people. I love games on every night and NBA League Pass, but I just think it's ridiculous, and for fans, there needs to be a mark where, maybe 55 games. I thought the lockout season back in 99 when they had 50-something games, I thought that was a perfect amount of games. And I think they need to do that now with the NBA because they got to get to a point where people aren't just getting hurt, especially with these Achilles injuries. Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, so much happening with the Achilles, people going out left and right, and I just think that something's wrong. These guys are in their 20s. This should not be happening like this, and it's happening at a rate that's much higher than it ever had before, and I think the reason for that certainly is just because they're playing too much, putting too much stress on their bodies, and I know a lot of fans will hate that. They hate the fact that they can't go to a game and see the star players play. I understand that. It's kind of a tough situation. Not a lot of great answers. I think the one answer that would be good for the players and the fans is shortening the season a little bit, but obviously there's too much money involved. Owners won't want to do that. On the other end of things, Oklahoma City winning the title. First time since they've been to Oklahoma City. As a basketball fan, somebody who remembers the Sonics, I kind of hate it because I really was rooting against them. Never really liked Oklahoma City because I feel like the Seattle's franchise should still exist. The Sonics should still be there. And Oklahoma City, man, for them to win a championship here, I know it's been 20 years. I understand. I'm old now. I got the gray in the beard, but I just think that it's just sad for the Sonics. I feel like that franchise, they deserve the championship, and those fans in Seattle deserve the championship as well. And to see the Thunder win it. And also this team, to me, there's something a little bit unlikable. I think a lot of fans feel the same way about Oklahoma City when you look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Great player, MVP, but you take a look at him and he's not really great to watch. There's some foul baiting stuff. We see it. We've seen it happen. People can argue whatever they want that other players do it, but I don't love the way that he plays. Understand that. Really like some other guys better. I like Jokic. I like the way he plays. Thought, he maybe deserved the MVP again when he averaged a triple-double. Alexander obviously was a great scorer this year, and the team's great. It's a great team, up and down, great roster, a lot of young players. But I really think that, it's unfortunate. And I think also it's kind of strange, this championship. A lot of people just didn't really think it was going to happen. I think a lot of people thought that OKC was going to lose. They were the number 1 seed, lost last year to Dallas in the second round. I think a lot of people thought this team was too young to win. And a lot of kind of casual fans thought that there's not the big names that you recognize, and maybe that's because they're in Oklahoma City. And SGA, my father, he watches basketball all the time, big basketball fan. He didn't know who SGA was until a couple weeks ago. in the playoffs. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, maybe it's the three names, the two long last names, but it just isn't something that resonates with people as much. And I think a lot of people thought they'd get knocked out. Not a lot of people thought it was for real, but congratulations to Mark Daigneault. Of course, he is, former UConn student manager. Did a great job there back in the early 2000s, and Jim Calhoun had him as a student manager, and his legacy lives on, and I think that's really cool as a Connecticut native and as a UConn fan growing up, just to see Jim Calhoun have that impact on the NBA, because he's another guy that doesn't get the credit and the respect that he deserves, I think, when you look at that. I thought all that stuff was really great for Oklahoma City. Congratulations to them. Obviously, Sam Presti did one of the best jobs we've ever seen when it comes to building a team. Obviously, all the draft picks he acquired, the Paul George trade, getting all those guys, getting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the Paul George trade was crazy. Those draft picks, obviously, got so many of them back. And he just did something that was kind of revolutionary when you look at not a lot of GMs were getting all that capital back in the draft. And using those picks to select great players. He did a great job drafting as well. Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams. You go on and on. The other Jalen Williams, so many great players. Cason Wallace. Just a really great, really well put together team. And for them to do this like this at this young of an age, that's also revolutionary. And I think there's a little bit of a difference here because the NBA has had a little bit of a change, which I think not a lot of people have realized. I think they're starting to come along and realize that there's been a lot more parity in the last few years when you look at the Heat, with the Heat making the finals in 2020 as an 8 seed, and people thought maybe that was just a bubble, but then they did it again. Or actually, I think they were a 5 seed back in 2020. A couple years later, ended up making the finals against the Nuggets as an 8 seed. But we've seen upsets in the playoffs in recent years, which is not something we ever saw back in the day. It was really 1 versus 2. The 2 best teams all year got there, unless there was a crazy injury, which we weren't seeing as much back in the day. But the 2 best teams always made it to the finals in the NBA, and I think that happened again. Didn't happen this year, as I'm trying to say, I guess, but there's been a lot of parity recently, and I think that's good, and I think that's good. Most sports fans like that more. I do think the NBA kind of had a higher Q rating when, you had LeBron and the Cavs going up against the Warriors every year. I think even though it was a little boring for some fans, I think there were stars in those finals. The Q rating was a little bit higher when you take a look at that because there were just teams that kind of dynastic teams, super teams. I think when you had Kevin Durant and the Nets, Kyrie Irving, that was kind of an interesting thing. Obviously, that all started with LeBron and the Heat back in the day. But that's what I think as far as, this era of the NBA. Things have changed greatly. I think the salary cap has changed things. I think when you look at the salary cap now, it's a situation where it's really changed. It's a hard cap now. So when you take a look at that, teams are not going to be able to build the way they once were. When you take a look at the Celtics maybe having to trade some people because Tatum got injured, they're talking about Jaylen Brown and not being able to carry these salaries anymore on this team. In the past, you could just pay the luxury tax like the Warriors were super happy to do, and they did that with Kevin Durant and all those guys. But now it's not like that anymore. It's very, very punitive. It really has been put in place to discourage super teams, to discourage all the talent in different cities. And I think that when you look at it now, it's just a different ballgame in terms of giving the chance for small market teams to win. I think small market teams have a better chance now, and they're going to continue to have a better chance because of the fact that this is the case. And I just think that things have changed drastically, and most fans don't really realize it. We're going to see more parity, which I think makes the playoffs better. We saw the Knicks upset the Celtics this year. We saw the Pacers beat the Cavs, even though there were injuries involved there as well. But I think the playoffs this season were certainly great and fun to watch. And I think when you look at it, it's just interesting. Certainly is definitely interesting when it comes down to things changing in the league. And I think it's going to be more like the NFL. I think it's going to be more like Major League Baseball, NHL, where different things can happen. And I think that's what the owners wanted. Too much player empowerment, I think, also played a role in that. I think they just got sick of the players having all the power and say in where they were going to go. And I think that kind of changed starting with the Damian Lillard trade. Ended up going to Milwaukee from Portland, not exactly where he wanted. I don't think he wanted to end up in the cold, kind of random city for him of Milwaukee, other than the fact that he had Giannis there. I think he would have rather gone to Miami, but kind of started there, and we've seen it change And certainly Kevin Durant going to the Rockets. I don't think he knew exactly where he was going to go. I think that was a little bit of something there. And certainly when you look at that, that's another topic to get into a little bit as well. KD going to the Rockets, I think it makes them better. I think with Ime Udoka there, he's a great coach. But you take a look at what he's able to do, and I'm not sure it makes him an immediate championship contender. I know some have said that, Stephen A. Smith being one of them. But I think the fact that they traded away Jalen Green, I think it's fine. You know, Jalen Green, obviously a great young player with talent. He can score. KD's better. KD gives them a lot of length. They have a lot of defense. They traded Dylan Brooks, who was one of the best defensive players certainly in the league, and made their team tough for a little bit of a Draymond Green-esque type player. Maybe that generation's Draymond Green. Certainly not quite as good as him defensively, but you take a look at the rest of their team. Thompson as well. He is fantastic. Amen Thompson. I think he's going to be an absolutely fantastic player, as is Asar. Both of those guys just have so much raw potential and athleticism and skill. I think that's something that the Rockets are going to be able to build on, and obviously have the leadership of KD and Fred VanVleet. I think all of that, they're going to be pretty decent when it comes to the future here. And certainly I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for these guys and these teams going forward, heading into the next season. I think next season definitely going to be interesting. Jason Tatum and company, the Celtics, depending on when he comes back, we'll see what they can do. Knicks definitely have a great chance to step forward here if they can hire the right coach. I would go with Mike Malone because I feel like he deserves to be there, deserves to have a coaching job now, and I think he would be a good fit. I don't know if the players necessarily want him. I know they all love Tom Thibodeau, and I think Johnny Bryant, they all want him now. But, yeah, I think really interesting stuff in the NBA, and I think a lot of that stuff has been something that when you take a look at the playoffs, things are different, and we have a new champion. A lot of people said it's a new era. I kind of don't like that. I really liked the old era. I liked Denver winning. I wanted to see Jokic kind of put together some more with the Nuggets. I liked seeing the Bucks win and Giannis. I really like seeing that. New teams winning championships. The Celtics was very cool as well. But it would be, obviously, I think the Thunder, a lot of people are saying also that the Thunder are going to become a dynasty, and definitely that is not totally in the cards. And I think we saw they were very dominant during the regular season, very reminiscent of the Celtics last year. But when you take a look at the teams in this league, I think we even saw in the playoffs, Minnesota almost had their number, beat them by 40 in one of the games in Minnesota. Certainly OKC can shoot the lights out, and they make more random shots that you don't think are going in than any other team that I've ever seen. But a lot of the shots, and when they put it up, it's like, that's not going in, and then it just goes in. It's just like, I've never seen it with some OKC. I've never seen it with a different team as much as they do it. But when you take a look at the future, I think there's a lot of teams in the West that can give them problems. I think things will continue to change. I think Luka with the Lakers, they're going to have to make the right moves there. LeBron, obviously, we don't know how much he's got left, if he can be a championship a player on a championship caliber team, contributing majorly. We'll see. I'm not sure. I think defensively they got a lot of issues, and they would have gotten run, and as they did by Minnesota. But certainly there's some other good teams, interesting teams out west, which is just stacked. And I think it's going to be really interesting next season. And I don't think there's any lock at all. And I think we saw with what the Pacers did against Oklahoma City, forcing it to 7 games. And that's another thing that I wanted to mention as well is Indiana. I think they should have won this series. If Haliburton didn't get hurt, certainly I think they would have won Game 7. I just think that's just a feeling I have. It was close when it happened, the injury. But I think they kind of felt toward the end of the series like they had found something against Oklahoma City. I think they let Game 5 slip away. They should have won, or Game 4 actually in Indiana. They should have won that game. I think they were up the entire way, kind of let it slip away. And SGA made some big plays down the stretch, which give him credit. Oklahoma City got run in Game 6. They ended up winning Game 5 in Oklahoma City as well, but they got absolutely torched in Game 6. And I thought it was going to be maybe a classic Game 7, and really would have loved to see how it played out. But unfortunately, we didn't get the chance as fans. We were robbed of that chance by Haliburton getting injured. Didn't get the chance to see how that would play out, and I thought it would have been maybe a really interesting series. And it feels kind of empty, honestly, because just seeing Oklahoma City win and realizing what happened, and just seeing the culmination of them come together, and this kind of dominant season wrapping up with a championship. Like I said, it feels like the Celtics, but it's like would have been better and would have been just it felt like a letdown for that to happen after Haliburton got hurt. I know it was only one game, but I don't think T.J. McConnell, unfortunately, is going to lead you to a win in Game 7 on the road in the NBA Finals. NBA Finals Game 7. I don't think that was kind of something that was in the cards. So that's what happened. They ended up pulling away late, and Indiana fought extremely hard. I think they're a great team. Certainly were a championship caliber team this year, and not a lot of people realize. I mean, they had, I think it was the second best record in the regular season and playoffs, second best record in the league since January 1st. It's pretty impressive to see what they did, certainly, I think, for the Pacers. That was about 15 minutes going on here and talking about the NBA. Just a quick little Roundball Daily rant. Maybe we'll call these Roundball rants. I think that'd be a good name for them. Thanks for watching. If you did watch, thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time. My name's Kels Dayton.